I just want him out of there. And like I said, I don't fear for
Ms.
my
Hoover,
life
how
at
you
all.
know
So
all of these things? How you know he's not getting his medication and he's not able to sleep? Mr. Allen, raise your right hand for me.
They got me shackled. I
You
can't.
put your right hand up, man.
Okay, just put your hand up. Do you solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you can put your hand down. So, Mr. Allen, you're before the court on 2023 CR 02951 for reckless conduct, count 1, criminal trespass, count 2. Your attorney with the law firm of Lister, Holt and Dennis, Mr. White, has indicated you're entering a plea of guilty to both counts. By doing so, you give up the right to have a trial by jury or judge. You give up the right to have the state prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You give up the right to have the presumption of innocence in your favor. You give up the right to confront witnesses, subpoena witnesses, present testimony and evidence on your behalf, to not incriminate yourself or present any testimony or evidence against yourself. And Mr. Allen, if you're not a United States citizen, a plea of guilty or no contest could negatively impact your immigration status. Do you understand all of these things, sir? All right. Factual basis and recommendation, please.
March 26th of 2023, officers responded to the location 275 Upper Riverdale Road, Jonesboro, Georgia. This was a response to a domestic call. They learned that the defendant had fired a weapon, specifically a handgun, within the apartment belonging to himself and to Paula Hoover. This was also in the presence of 3 minors, Dontravius Neal, Rothtorian Staley, and Messiah Allen. The gunshot damaged a wall within the apartment. That's the basis for the disorderly conduct, or rather the reckless conduct, and the criminal trespass is the damage to the wall caused by the firearm. The recommendation is 12 months to serve 30 days, credit for time served, the balance to be probated, the defendant to take a gun safety class, and there's a $500 fine that's suspended for the time served. No violent or harassing contact with the named victims, those being present, including Ms. Hoover. And the defendant is to forfeit the weapon, which is a 9mm Taurus, serial number TLU 57240. To count 2, 12 months to serve 30 days, balance suspended. Upon no further violations of laws, count 2 to run concurrent with count 1.
All right. Ms. Hoover wishes to have to make a comment in this case. Ms. Hoover, can you unmute, please? Can you raise your right hand for me? Unmute, raise your right hand.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Raise your right hand for me. Do you solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. You can put your hand down. Go ahead, ma'am. Tell me what you need me to know.
Okay, first I would like to say that I don't fear Mr. Allen in any type of way for me or my children. That day, whenever I called, I told the officers that I just wanted him to leave. I never wanted him locked up. And as far as the gun going off, it went off in the wall, but the children were not present. They were all the way down the hall in their room, and we were in our room with the door shut. They didn't know what was going on until after everything happened. And we don't live in an apartment, we live in a mobile home. So, I mean, when he shot in the wall, it's not like we were living in an apartment where he shot through the wall and it could have potentially hurt someone else. Secondly, he's very sick. He has a lot of health issues. He's not getting his medicine in there. He has liver failure, high cholesterol, high blood pressure. As you see, he's an amputee. He has nerve damage. He has medicine that he has to take for that. He's not getting that. He hasn't been able to sleep because of him being sick and needing his medication. And I mean, I just want him out of there. And like I said, I don't fear for
Ms.
my
Hoover,
life
how
at
you
all.
know
So
all of these things? How you know he's not getting his medication and he's not able to sleep?
I mean, that's irrelevant, I feel.
It's not.
It is. I mean, the big issue is why isn't he getting it? The issue is shouldn't be how do I
The
know?
big
The
issue
issue
is
should be why isn't he getting it?
he's under a bond condition not to have any contact with you. Ms. Hoover, let me talk plain to you for a minute. All of Mr. Allen's health issues notwithstanding, you have not told me there's something wrong with his brain, which then tells me that he should have enough common sense not to shoot a gun off into the walls or wherever it went in a house occupied by 3 minors. The biggest health challenge we have in America is gun violence. We lose more kids to gun violence, and not just somebody killing them, but them picking up a gun, playing with an unsecured gun in a home and not knowing the requirements of gun safety and proper gun storage. And you're sitting there and you're excusing every single bit of bad behavior Mr. Allen has done. It's okay. My kids weren't afraid. They didn't know what was going on. Babies in the womb know if there's tension and violence in a home. So for you to tell me 3 fully formed children walking around with their own first and last name don't know what's going on, ma'am, I'm just not buying that. It is time out for making excuses for people who have the potential to harm you or your children. Just making an excuse that him recklessly shooting off a gun, whether it's a mobile home or you don't know who could have been walking by. Bullets don't have a name on them. When people shoot up in the air, bullets have been known to come down and kill somebody. A woman shot up in the air trying to break up a fight. The bullet came down and killed her son, hit him straight in the head. So she lost her own son recklessly handling a gun. So when somebody recklessly handles a gun, that's a big thing for me, because I'm not going to say people can't own guns. I own guns, but I've taken gun safety courses. I have a gun safe. I do all of the things I can to make sure that I protect my children and other people from my gun. You're sitting up here making excuses for a grown man, and none of his health challenges excuse his behavior. None of them, not one. And you and Mr. Allen have violated my order. Mr. Allen is the one under the order. You just helping him. But he's violated my order by having no contact. And if I needed to go back to the jail records and pull them, I could. Which, if you have contact in violation of a bond order, it could result in additional jail time. It could result in additional misdemeanors. It could result in a felony. So not only is he reckless enough to shoot off a gun in a house and you making an excuse for him, he's not even listening to a judge ordered bond condition. Mr. Allen,
I was waiting for you to
hold on, Mr. Allen, because she's gonna keep helping to bury you. I'm gonna let her talk as long as she needs to. Go ahead, ma'am. Go ahead. I understand you want him back in the home. There's a lot of reasons. Oh, that somebody I love him. He paying the bills, all of that. I don't care why you want him back. I don't care why you're here making the statement. But I do want to point out that in an era and a time where we're losing people to gun violence left and right, you are totally excusing him not setting a good example for your kids who are in the home. And by the names, I'm going to guess we're looking at 3 young males who should be taking their example about gun safety, how to conduct themselves, how to not hurt themselves or recklessly handle a gun from the man in the house. And if the man in the house is shooting off guns in the wall, and you're going to tell me a gun goes off in a mobile home and 3 young boys don't know what that sound is or know what it is, ma'am, come on.
I said they knew afterwards. Of course, they wouldn't know beforehand.
Ms. Hoover, I'm going to need you to stop lying to yourself. But, I've heard your statement. I know you want him back in the house. I'll hear what his attorney has to say. I don't find the recommendation unreasonable. It's fine. It sounds good to me, but I thought you were going to tell me something that was going to be enlightening. All you basically telling me is Mr. Allen's been calling you, begging you to get online to say something to get him out of jail because they're not treating him right.
I didn't say he was begging me to get him out of jail. I never one time
Ma'am, you
said that.
didn't have to say it. You said it without telling me that because you know all about what's going on in the jail. Had you not had contact with him, you wouldn't know. I've been doing this a long time, Ms. Hoover. I ain't psychic, but I'm Nayon. I know how to pay attention. All right, Mr. White, what you got for me on Mr. Allen?
Okay. Sure.
As
So-
Mr. White cringed while you buried his client. Go ahead, Mr. White, tell me what you got.
Well, with that information in mind and with the state's recommendation, it is very clear that the victim in the case does want Mr. Allen back in the house. Regarding any potential misuses of bond, at this point, he would be sentenced to a sentence that would require no violent contact. So he would be able to talk with Ms. Hoover and take care of his kids, which seems to be in the best interest of both of them. I do believe that since Mr. Hoover will also having to take a gun safety course and he will be forfeiting the gun, we would hope that Mr. Hoover would learn from this situation and the fact that he clearly did not like being in jail very much, that he will now think more about his actions to avoid going back, Your Honor.
Mr. Allen, I'm gonna need you to use some common sense. You raising young men in this society where guns are killing young black males. I can say that. I got 2 black sons. Young black males are dying on the daily from mishandling guns, thinking gun culture is okay, using guns against each other. And what do? You set the very wrong example as the man in the house. I'm gonna need you to man up. To be the man that you want them to grow up to be. You don't want them in an orange jumpsuit. You don't want them in front of a judge. So if you can't model that behavior, then get out of the house, because all you're going to do is turn them into you in 20 years. When I'm ready to retire, those 3 boys are going to be here in front of me, modeling the behavior that you showed them was okay.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Do you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, then be the man. Set an example. Make sure your kids don't end up where you are.
Yes, ma'am.
That's your responsibility in the household. Ms. Hoover gonna sit up there and make excuses for you, but that's not okay. Because a man should not need a woman to excuse their behavior.
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
not a man.
Right.
And whatever
You
health
know,
challenges
it's funny
you
how
got-
you were
Ms.
saying that I'm
Hoover,
making excuses for
on,
him, and that's
Ms.
all you're
Hoover.
touching on.
And a man, I'm gonna tell you, Mr. Allen, a man should not have to have somebody make excuses for him, because none of your health challenges have anything to do with your ability to reason and make sense of life.
I didn't make any excuses, ma'am. I understand what
No,
you're saying.
no, I'm clear on that. I'm mainly talking to Ms. Hoover. She hot mad because she trying to plead your case, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but I didn't, you know.
No, I'm not saying you made any excuses. I'm talking to Ms. Hoover, but she shouldn't be making any. You should go to her and apologize for the example you set for her and those children.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and do better. I'm going to accept your plea of guilty to counts 1 and 2. I'll sentence you on count 1 to 12 months to serve 30 days credit for time served. The balance will be probated for you to take a gun safety course. You're to also forfeit the 9mm Taurus, the serial number that as was read into the record, and you're to pay a fine in the amount of $500. That $500 fine will be suspended in recognition of the time that you spent in jail, and you're to have no violent or harassing contact with Miss Paula Hoover, with Dontravius Neal, with Rontorius Staley, and with Messiah Allen. Do you understand all of these things?
Yes, ma'am.
And on count 2 is 12 months to serve 30 days, credit for time served, balance suspended as long as you have no new violations of the laws of the state of Georgia. That will run concurrent with count 1. Now, what question did you have for me, sir?
Nothing.
All right, if nothing is holding you, then you should be released today, okay?
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, no violent or harassing contact. You got me? Okay, you can go back.